Hey everyone, Jim Coventry from RotoWire, joined by my gambling.com teammate John Ryan. John has been on fire. He's going well over 64% between his NFL and his college right now. It's been crazy, but John's professional. So it doesn't surprise us. John, how's it been happening? What have you been doing well here more than usual when you're always dominating?
Well, we're trying to keep it all in perspective. It's a grind as a professional bettor. It's 1 week at a time, and you can't get too high or too low. And hockey has really been the shocker. 12-2 start to the season. Hopefully, that'll keep going. But we have a big card today, and again, I'm confident that we're going to do well. But there's certainly never guarantees in this business.
12-2 sounds like the empty net goals are going your way.
They definitely are. The horseshoe's in the right spot.
That's good. Keep it there for the next 6 months, 6 years. All right, John, let's get right into this. We're going to do one of your games. I'm going to give some props. You'll do a second game. Then I'll do some DFS angles, and we'll give everybody what they need to be successful. John, we're going to talk Chargers Falcons here. Now, the Chargers come in out of the bye. They're 4-3, but they're without Keenan Allen, still with the hamstring. Mike Williams and an ankle is going to be down multiple weeks. This Chargers run defense is one of the worst in the league, and they're down two of their front seven defenders. Jerry Tillery one, and then Joey Bosa's backups the other. And the Falcons, 4-4, leading the NFC South. They lean heavily on the run. Defensively, they're down both starting quarterbacks. What do you think of this game? Who do you like and why?
I'm going with the Chargers here. A bit of a contrarian play. It just makes sense to me that they are the better team. The Falcons here, shockingly, are leading their division race, but you can't rule out a 3-5 Tampa Bay Bucks team with Tom Brady under center. I think that will turn around, but we'll have to see how the Falcons do further down the road. But I think the Chargers were actually one of my teams as a sleeper to make the Super Bowl. That's not looking so good right now, is it? But
It was me too. Me too.
we got a long way to go,
We
and
do.
a lot is going to happen. So in this situation, Jim, we're going to bet on favorites, including pick'em. Both teams are allowing between 23 and 27.5 points per game. The favorite is coming off back-to-back games in which 50 or more points were scored in each one. This favors the Chargers 66-20, straight up 77% winners, 66% against the spread, 56-29 record. And there's a lean to the under here, too. 51-34 record in this situation for 60%. And I'm not a big fan of teasers, but I know a lot of people out there like them. And this might be a situation for them to consider. A 6-point teaser with the favorite and the under, based on those parameters, has gone 60-26 for 70% winners. With these teasers, just make sure if you do it, you're not paying ridiculous juice. There's some new books out there that are charging minus 140. And if that's the case, folks, you got to win 77% of your teaser bets just to break even.
Wow.
So make sure that you don't pay more than you should, which is minus 115, minus 120.
Wow, that was a nugget there about the teaser. Just people play those, but those numbers, very, very sobering. I'm with you on the Chargers. I need them to win. I have some preseason bets with them over 10 wins, and the injuries are just mounting up. I mean, I know this team gets injured every year, but this is insane, the amount of injuries. We need Justin Herbert to do some magic here, John. John, before we get to your next game, we're going to go in with a few prop bets here, and I will have a thread of these up on Twitter. And John, I'm going to tag you on them as well. But I tried to post this just before and it rejected me. So I'm going to have to do this after the show. I'll just copy and paste them and put them back up. So anyway, these are the props. I'll go through everything quickly, but I'll give you the trends with them. I like Tyreek Hill over 86.5 yards against the Bears. He's gone over in 5 of 8 games. The Bears don't have any pressure. Robert Quinn's been gone for 2 weeks. Roquan Smith is gone. And also, the Bears have not played a good schedule of opposing receivers, so their numbers look better than they are. But the Bears have 2 rookies in the secondary. Good luck dealing with Tyreek. Deontay Foreman over 69.5 yards. He has 118 in each of his 2 starts. Now, the defense he's facing here, the Bengals, only 2 running backs have gone over that. But it's been a bit of a mystery. In the last 4 weeks, without their best run stopper, DJ Reader, who's been injured on the IR, Cincinnati's now giving up almost 4.5 yards per carry and 114 rushing yards per game. So for Foreman sailing over. T. Higgins over 75.5 yards. He's gone over that in 3 of the last 5 games. And basically, in this game we saw last week, they were under a lot of pressure from Cleveland. Well, no problem here. The Panthers don't get a lot of consistent pressure. Brian Burns is a great pressure player, but outside of that, they'll have time to throw the ball. And the Panthers are giving up 157 yards per game to receivers over the last 4 weeks, 8th most in the league. Let's give you 2 more here. So let's go Dalvin Cook over 73.5 yards. He's gone over that in his last 5 games. Now, Jacksonville, who they're playing, if you look at their individual running back yards allowed, it's like, oh, nothing great. But listen to this. To the Jacksonville running backs, 113 yards. The Detroit running backs, 109. Derrick Henry went over, obviously. The Bears, 2 running backs, 142 yards. And then Jonathan Taylor on a bum ankle, 76. Everybody who gets carries goes over against them. Washington's giving up 4.4 yards per carry over the last 4. And I'll give you one last one before we get to John's next pick. Adam Thielen, same game. He's going to go over 52.5 yards. Now, he's done that in 3 of his last 5 games. In the one of the games he didn't, he left briefly with an injury, didn't get enough snaps. But here's the thing. Washington has allowed at least that many yards, at least 53 to secondary receivers in 6 of their 8 games. They get crushed by secondary receivers. So those are the ones that we'll give you. We will put a thread out later today. There'll be a couple more on there. Rationale will be on there as well. John, we're going to talk next about your angle on the Colts against the Patriots. Now, the Colts come in 3-4-1, second in the AFC South. The Colts are without Jonathan Taylor, ruled out that ankle. They are missing a good run defender, pass rusher, defensive end Tyquan Lewis. Now the Patriots, 4-4, last place in the AFC East. Now the Pats are without 2 linemen, but Isaiah Wynn is stepping in at tackle, so it's actually going to be an upgrade. So they're only down David Andrews, in my opinion. John, what do you think about the Colts-Patriots here?
Well, the New England Patriots are definitely going to be a premium play for me, but the one I want to present in addition to that is the over in this situation, which is, again, contrarian based on what you said. A lot of these metrics, the Patriots are down the lower half offensively, especially red zone scoring. They rank 30th, scoring only 45% of the time. But I do see Bill Belichick again, waving the magic wand and has resurrected this team that started out 1-3. They are now 4-4. And I do think this is a coaching mismatch, with all due respect to head coach Frank Reich. I think Belichick knows how to do this. He's been doing it successfully for a long time, and we don't need to get into all the trends and angles that Bill Belichick has against the spread that support him in this game. But in the over, Jim, we're going to bet over when the total's between 35.5 and 42 points, so a relatively low total by the modern evolution of the game. And the visitor is basically sleepwalking during the first half, averaging less than 7 points per game in the first half. That is just anemic. The host has a win percentage of at least 50%. Patriots are 4-4. And the game is taking place after week number 8, which is the midway point of the season. That has gone 16-7 over the total, good for 69% winning bets over the last 5 seasons. And I love the in-game strategy here. I constantly, each week, I fall more in love with it, I guess because it's fun to do. And I'm using pizza money, and that's what you should do with these bets during the in-game. So in the total here, if it starts out slow and they're playing in the mud, and that's what the Colts love to do. They keep everything slow, and that's the only way they really have a chance to win. So if it starts out slow and say you get a 3-0 end of the first quarter, you're going to be able to pick up this total under 40, and that's an opportunity to get on the total, on the over at that point. So you do 50% pre-flop, 25% in the first quarter if they're playing slow, and take advantage of how the game is going, because the pace of play changes every single game from fast to slow, back to fast, and you'll take advantage of that situation and hopefully do well with it.
All right, I'm going to move over. I love that call again. So, everybody, if you're not betting John's picks, you're missing out here because, again, he's running over 64% altogether between college and NFL, just crushing it here. And he gives you the trends. And, like you know me, it's the why, it's not the what. And John is giving you the what, the same way I do with my fantasy calls. All right, let's go on to a few DFS plays. And so, anyway, we talked earlier in the props about Tyreek Hill. Well, Tua Tagovailoa for the same reason against the Bears, and he's still somewhat underpriced at 6,700. When he doesn't see pressure, he's a completely different quarterback, and he's not going to see it here. If you want to go in the same game, thinking the Bears could actually shoot out with the Dolphins here because the Dolphins are really banged up in the secondary, Justin Fields is 5,300, and he has run for 80 or plus yards in his last two games. He has been turned loose there. And if you want to really get a little bit nutty, he's been awful the last 3 weeks. Trevor Lawrence, but his matchups have been tough. They're playing the Raiders, and the Raiders are without their cornerback, Nate Hobbs, and they are not a good pass defense. This could be a sneaky game for Lawrence. A few running backs here. Look, he's expensive, but Austin Eckler's seen 29 targets in the last two games. They have nobody else to throw to. Eckler's going to be the offense here, and with all the receptions he'll get, you pay up there. And then we mentioned earlier for a prop for Deontay Foreman for the same reasons. And I saw a question in the chat. Yeah, DJ Reader's been on the IR for a few weeks now, and it's a big hit to the Bengals run D. So there. And now in that Chargers game, you need to wait till tomorrow. But especially if Cordero Patterson, they're going to announce Saturday today. If he's not active, if he's not going to be active, Tyler Algier against the Chargers at 5,400. He's getting nearly 15 carries a game. And the Chargers, we said earlier, depleted on defense. He should get some success there. At receivers, give you a couple of here. We already mentioned for the prop, so Tyreek Hill just the same. He could have one of those 180-yard games like he's had almost 3 of this year. And we mentioned T. Higgins in the props. That for the same reason we like him in DFS. Spending down. Rondale Moore, 5,200 against the Seahawks. He had 49 yards against him a few weeks ago, nothing great, but he has had 8 targets or more in 3 of his last 4 games, and the dynamic with DeAndre Hopkins on the field will help him. We know that first game Hopkins was back. Moore didn't do anything. Last week, nearly 100 yards at a touchdown. He's coming on in that offense quickly. And then if you really want to get crazy and spend down, 3,900. Terrace Marshall is seeing 90% of the snaps, and he saw some production. The Bengals, they're without Chidobe Awuzie, torn ACL. Mike Hilton is out. They are a depleted secondary, and this game could get a little bit of scoring going, and Marshall's actually been a bit of a thing. All right, let's finish up with a couple of tight ends here. Gerald Everett in that Falcons game. I know John likes the Chargers. Well, at 4,800, Gerald Everett may be seeing 12 targets here. Donald Parham, the other tight end, is out again with a hamstring. The top 2 receivers are out. Between Everett and, of course, Austin Eckler, they may be the primary means of moving the ball. And then, if you want to pay down, Cardinals are awful against tight ends. Noah Fant in 2 of his last 3 games had 49 yards. He could get a big play or two. If you want to punt the position, Noah Fant would be a good play to go. John, anything else you want to share with the audience today?
Well, I'll tell you what, Jim, the one thing I will share is that people definitely have to follow you because you have helped me personally change DraftKings lineups from what would have been a loss, no cash at all, to actually tickets that are cashing. And I can't emphasize it enough. And that play that you have on Marshall, I think is just elite. I mean, it just shows that your expertise is second to none. So if you're not following Jim for your DraftKings and your player prop bets, you're missing out big time. I have one other thing to add, and I'm excited as I can be excited because the SEC has 2 monster matchups today. I'm going to talk about the first one here. Tennessee, number 1 Tennessee, who was not ranked in the preseason polls, is now taking on Georgia down in Athens. And Georgia is an 8.5 point favorite. I did see some 9s earlier this morning. But 70% of the tickets, Jim, are on Tennessee, and that's a red flag because when everybody is on the same side, it doesn't mean that Tennessee's not going to win. It doesn't mean that Tennessee's not going to cover. It just means that over the course of a season, these situations will make money over the course of the season, not just one game. But this system I have here, I just cannot get away from being on Georgia today. And I think that is the right side. Bet on home favorites of 3.5 to 9.5 points. Home team coming off 3 consecutive wins over conference foes. And our road team is coming off a double-digit win over a conference foe. 63-15 straight up for 80% winners, 51-26 against the number for 66% winning bets. If the total is 65 or more points and it's currently trading at 66.5, 19-1 straight up, 95%. And get this, Jim, 16-3, 1 push against the number. That gives you 84% winning bets. I can't get off of Georgia, and I'm taking Georgia to the window.
Oh my gosh, that is a phenomenal call. Now, again, I said it earlier. John gives you the pick, but he gives you so many layers under the surface. If you're not following John, you are doing it wrong. You follow him at John Ryan Sports 1. Now, we saw a few questions here. I'll see if we can zip through these. John, if you want, do you mind if I say for a couple of these questions? I don't know if they're.
Go ahead.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's see. This is a fantasy question. DJ Duvernay, would I drop Kadarius Toney for Isaiah Likely? So Mark Andrews, if he's going to miss time, which it looks is a Monday night game, so he may or may not play. If Andrews is on the field, Likely won't be consistent enough. Toney, I don't think he's acclimated heavily into that Kansas City offense, but if you could stash him toward the fantasy playoffs, he could become a deal. So realistically, coin toss there. Said, next question, start Foreman or Deion Jackson? Foreman is a great play this week. Deion Jackson is up against the Patriots. Not optimal. We already said DJ Reader is out. And, yeah, it looks like there's a little conversation. It looks like we're in good shape here. All right, for John Ryan, I'm Jim Coventry. And I want John to give his sign-off before we go here. Give your usual sign-off, John.
Well, remember 2 things. Bet with your head, not over it. And may all the wins be yours.
All right, everyone. Best of luck in week 9, and we will see you next time.